How often do you get to talk about all of your failures in life, but then things that you get to learn? This is a great group too. Fun, and they all laughed at my jokes, so that's also important.
I love that. I love that.
This is a great summit as well because it's focused on not just, let me listen to Danessa talk for a little bit here, and oh, that's an interesting story, and that's great, and then you go home. I love that the intent of this is for us to share, and we've got these masterminds, and we've got, we're going to share real problems, and we're going to come up with real solutions. And so I'm going to share just a little bit about kind of what I've gone through, and maybe there's some things that I can share that may resonate with you. I'm a huge John Maxwell fan, and one of my favorite books of his is Failing Forward, and the one of his quotes in here is, "The difference between average people and achieving people," a room full of achieving people here, "is their perception and response to failure." And I am such a believer in that, because then it's like failure is not a bad word. Failure is essential. It is essential to our growth. And so let's talk a little bit about that. I'm going to share as it relates to kind of my journey here. This is a picture, my family picture. I am the second oldest of 10 kids, of which 8 of us are adopted. So we've got, my parents have 2. They have 2 natural born. There's 3 of us from Korea. There's 2 from Haiti, 1 from the foster system that was adopted, and 2 who were adopted as babies from Philadelphia. So we have a big family. This one right here is my sister Darby. She's a year older than me. She is smart. She's like MIT smart. She's like mechanical engineering degree from MIT, graduated, and then decided she wanted to be a doctor, and then went to medical school and became a doctor smart. That's her. And then there's me. And so in high school, all the teachers are like, "Oh, we get another Hales." That's my maiden name. And I immediately reset all of their expectations. And I said, "Listen, I am a B-C+ student, and I tell you that because that's what kept me from being grounded on the weekends." So that was the bar. That was the bar. So not MIT, San Jose State. And I tell you that because I'm just a normal person. I'm just a normal person from a big family who, just was doing what she does as she grows up. And I know as I look at this picture, I'm like, maybe I'm not that normal, but I'm just a normal person. And so as I grew up, I realized that I needed to get off the family payroll pretty quickly. As we went off to college, my parents adopted more kids, and so it's like, let's get you off the family payroll. And so with that, I decided to get a job, because I learned that Finesse shampoo is not cheap. And that was my shampoo. And I'm like, "Mom, how dare you raise us on Finesse shampoo when now I can only afford Suave?" So I realized I need to get a job. And so my very first job was working at an assembly line packaging things. So I was doing this. It was in a big warehouse with a lot of people who didn't speak English. And I did that while I went to school. And it paid the rent and allowed me to continue to go to school. And it was what you do, right? And then my husband and I, he worked for Pacific Sunwear, and had an opportunity to move out to the Midwest. They were opening up a bunch of stores there, and he said, "We're going to go for a year." And I said, "That's awesome." I said, "This is great. I mean, it's like a mini vacation, right? You're young, but we were not married yet." And I said, "I don't think I can move to Michigan without a firmer commitment." Now, all you ladies know what I mean. My husband's like, "It's firm, we're moving." And I'm like, no, that's not what I meant. So we got married before we moved. And then about 9 months into it, I said, I'm going to apply for this job at Molly Maid. We're moving back home in 3 months. It's good to work on your interviewing skills. And so I did that. And this is also going to date me. Before I got home, there is a message on the answering machine. For those of you who know what an answering machine is, offering me the job. And I said, I'm like, seemed like some pretty cool people there. There were then 110 franchisees, and about 10 people at the home office. And my job was the accounting assistant. And that started my journey into franchising. I was at Service Brands, which Molly Maid evolved into being a platform company and became Service Brands International. And I was there for 19 years. And one of the things that I learned in my journey there is that I had to be teachable. I was, I'm going to say 24, 23 when I started there. And I was the accounting assistant. My job was to enter royalty reports. They send in their weekly royalty reports. I got really good at the 10 key. I got really good at recognizing people's signatures. It was great. And I did that. And I said, I love the people here. I love this opportunity. And so then I became the director of accounting, and I did that, and I loved it because I love accounting, and it tells a story, and it's interesting. And I had an amazing boss, and that boss, he was a monk. He was like a real monk, like a celibate monk, not a brown robe monk, but just and he was amazing. And to this day, we still stay in touch. But he taught me everything I know about accounting, about commercial insurance, about how mechanical pencils work. He taught me how to get people to open and read your email, that you send the same email every week, just confirming how much we're going to withdraw from their account for their royalty. He got me to figure out a way to do that. And you know what the secret to that is? You put a joke in there. So every week you put a different joke. And the only reason why I know they read it is because they call me and they say, you forgot to change the joke. So he also taught me that in order for me to take the next step in accounting, because I'm like, well, I found it. This is what I'm going to be when I grow up. I'm going to be an accountant. I'm going to do these amazing things. And he said, in order for me to continue, I'd probably need to go back to school. And I'm like, ooh, I'm out. I don't want to go to school anymore. And so he taught me a really important lesson. He said, Danessa, he said, you are at a point in your life where you need to examine lots of things. You need to take a look at all of the different opportunities which we will provide for you here at Service Brands. And so he encouraged me to say, look at other roles here at the company. It's okay to do that. My feelings won't be hurt. But it was neat. It was neat for me to hear that directly from him and not feel like I was being, what happens if and so then I moved over to be the director of license administration. License administration is the legal compliance department. I'm like, I'm not an attorney. What do I know about this? But I was teachable. And so for that, I learned how to file FDDs. I learned how to issue franchise agreements. I learned how to create new FDDs for Canada, like things like that. I learned just so many really, really important skills. And then I did that for a couple of years, and they said, I said, seriously, I've got a kid. I need a little bit more flexibility. I feel like someone could die if I'm not there for a day in legal. I don't know if they do or not, but you feel like that. And they said, well, that's great, Danessa, because everybody comes and sits in your office all day long and tells you their problems. Why don't we just pay you to do that? And so for that, they made me the director of HR. And so while I was doing that, they also said, and if you'd like, we'd love for you to head up our philanthropy, the Ms. Molly Foundation. And so I got all my certifications for HR. They were encouraging, again, offering me opportunities for me to continue to learn. And still me thinking, I wonder what I want to be when I grow up. And so being able to do that and then learning everything about nonprofits and grant writing and teaching franchisees how to be able to be involved in their community by giving back. I mean, that was a blast. And then they came to me and they said, hey, Danessa, you grew up in California. You understand labor law. We've got some issues going on in California as it relates to workers' comp. We need someone who can help with that. And so they said, would you join our operations team? And I said, well, of course, I'd love to. That'd be great. So I did that, and that's where I really learned how much I loved operations. Operations is amazing. You get to build amazing relationships with franchisees. You get to be there on their really great days. You get to be there on their worst days. It's amazing, and I loved that, and I loved doing that. But then they said, hey, we feel like we can help our franchisees get out of the gate faster and get to that first dollar and get to profitability quicker. Can you help us with that? Because you've got a background in accounting, and we know you understand a P&L, and we know you understand operations. Help us with this. And so I did that, and I loved it, and it was fun, and it was great. And then they said, well, why don't you head up our operations team overall? And I said, that's awesome. I'd love to. And it was an amazing ride. 19 years. Can you believe that? Some of my very best friends come from Service Brands. And every time we run into them at IFA, we all feel like we should wear the same t-shirt instead that says, I attended Service Brands International University, because we learned so much together. I laugh, I look at that and I say, we had the opportunity to interact with people like, how many of you guys know Rob Goggins, president of Great Clips Service Brands? I remember walking down Bourbon Street with him at one of our annual conferences, and he was earning his beads the right way. And I love that about Rob, because Rob's awesome. And, people like Mike Skitsky, who's, I think he's president or COO over at Goldfish Swim School. I mean, he was our franchise development guy. We'd sit there and we talk about, I'm like, what kind of a candidate is this? Come on, guy. So it's fun to be able to have that. And, Meg Roberts and I remember many times crying over a glass of wine in a hotel room saying, what the heck are we doing? And so it's neat to be able to, as I look back at my ride here at Service Brands, I learned so much. I was so thankful to be part of a group that allowed me to, one, learn on the job, and two, be able to be in a culture like that. And so then when you go back to Maxwell's and I look at that and I say, I failed many times during that time, during those 19 years. But I was continually given the opportunity to continue to learn. And I could have said, hey, I quit. I'm out. I don't want to do this. But man, I look at that and I think I am the luckiest girl in the world that had 19 years in an amazing company that allowed me to do that. So then, let's see, what's my next slide? Oh, so then I moved on from Service Brands and I joined a company called Made Right. And this company didn't exist. They said, come and create something from the ground up. Sister company to Jam Pro. And they said, create a business model based on this master franchise concept. We do it really, really well in commercial cleaning. Let's do it for residential. And like the opportunity to understand residential cleaning really well and be able to say, if I could do it all over again, these are the things I would do differently, was like, it was, how do you turn that down? And they approached me in February in Michigan to move down to Atlanta, which was also not a tough sell. But anyway, did this. We built a really great model on paper. And then we sold a bunch of them, sold about 42 of them. And then we had to execute on them. And we did that. And it was hard. That's why they say build a concept, and then build the model, build the concept, and then franchise it. We did it out of order. And so it was hard. And so the company decided to sell. And when they sold, the new company said, I don't think we need you, Danessa. And I said, oh, wow. This is my baby. I built this. And so you go through all the emotions. The first time I'd ever been fired. And so I thought, I'm going to sue the pants off of these people. and then I thought, well, who really wants to do that? And I'd have to find an attorney and I'd have to know what I'm talking about. And so I really, and I was mad. I was mad all the time for this period of time. Because the other thing I learned is that I had defined myself by my career. And so when people say, well, what do you do? And it's like, well, I'm in franchising, but so much of it was who I was in a certain position. And I learned that that's not life. That's not what you do. So I had to really take a step back and say, what do I really want to do here? So I have this little sign in my office, my home office. It says, forget yourself and get to work. And by a very wise man, Gordon B. Hinckley. And I love this because one, it sits in my office and it helps me anytime I feel like I'm losing focus, is it means that I need to forget myself and get to work. And so during that time, I decided while I was looking for my next adventure, I said, I'm going to go and I'm going to volunteer at my son's soccer tournaments. Never got to do that before because I was always working, and did that and loved it. And because I came from residential cleaning, I said, you know what, I'll volunteer and help families who are moving out of their house and go in and help clean them for them. I decided we crossed tons of things off our bucket list of things to do. It was my son's senior year in high school. We had a lot of fun that year. And so I realized that what I needed to do is focus less on myself and more on like, what are things that we know this is a finite period of time. So I'm going to make the most of it. I'm going to have some fun, but spend time with my family, quality time that sometimes you forget about. And for me was just a really, really great moment for me to recognize I needed to rebalance. So we did that and moved the family to Utah. And I started with working at Property Management Inc. And that's during that time, during that summer, and during my next adventure, I really learned that I needed to learn to ask for help, which is hard, right? I mean, for me, I'm a woman. I'm like, I don't want to ask for help. I'm smart. I know how to do this. Or worse, I don't want anyone to know that I need help. And then you look at it and you say, you realize that the more you ask for help, the more you realize people are like, yeah, I encountered that too. I was wondering. And so you learn that you have to find your tribe. You have to find the people that you are really comfortable sharing that with. Whether it's right now, I've got a number of different groups, but I have a peer group of ladies that I was invited to join. And again, I was like, me? Are you talking to me? Thinking they're looking at the person behind me. But it's amazing. It's an amazing group that Monday mornings will send out hey, here was the highlight of my week, and here are things that I'm maybe struggling with this week. And so we've got these long text strings. And you know what? But this morning, before I left my hotel room, I sent them a little note and I said, just quick prayer for me. I'm giving a keynote. And they said, prayers, Danessa, and cheers, and all sorts of stuff. You need that. We need that. We need to learn to ask for help. And we need to learn to find our tribe. But then the other thing I think that's really important is being able to continue to build your tribe, right? Like, I feel like it's why we come to conferences like this, right? So that we can meet new people. I mean, I've met lots of things. I mean, like, in addition to Ken being an amazing DJ, I'm like, I'm going to pick his brain. I want to know what he's like. If he could do it all over again at the Maids, what would he do differently? And I love being able to, even though we ghosted you and said, no, thank you, Russ, we can still be part of my tribe. So I love the opportunity to continue to build your tribe. You have to. I just think this industry is so small that, the opportunity to be able to get to know each other and be able to bounce ideas and ask for help together. So I love that today we're going to get real and we're going to get vulnerable and we're going to ask for help in some things. The other thing I've learned is we have to engage with our tribe. So the other thing I've learned is that I'm really good at taking withdrawals because, I don't know if I've mastered, but I ask for lots of help now. It's like, hey, what do you think about this? Or, hey, if you could do this, or, hey, do you know someone who can help with that? I've learned that I take lots of withdrawals, but I need to also make some deposits, right? I need to make sure that when someone sends out something, I say, yeah, I can help you with that. Or, hey, I'm happy to do that for you. How many of you are Simon Sinek fans? Yeah, the Start With Why. I'm going to share this little video here that he shares when he talks about engaging your tribe. Let's see. Whoops. There we go.
A friend of mine, she told me that the week before, she had a really, really hard week. And I said, why did she call me? She says, I reached out. So, of course, I pull up my phone and I scroll up and I look for her text. And sure, it says, hey, what are you doing? Want to come over? I'm like, Like, you mean these texts? The one that sound like every other text you've ever sent me ever? Like, how do you know that that's a cry for help? She had read an article that all human beings need is 8 minutes of time from another friend to feel not alone in a moment of stress, in a moment of pain. And so she and I came up with code word that the next time one of us really needs the other person, our code would be to have 8 minutes. Wow. Anyone can step out of a meeting for 8 minutes. You won't solve your friend's problems. It only takes 8 minutes for them to feel like they're dear whatever they're dealing not alone. And this is the power of friendship.
Set power. Go we own the peanuts.
So you think about your tribe, and I think, I need to make sure I've always got 8 minutes for someone in my tribe. So no, we should probably all share cell phone numbers, or put together a group text or whatever. But know that as we build our tribe, and you build your tribe, and that 8 minutes is crucial. Absolutely. So when you talk about tribe, I take you back to my family too, and my family. I don't know about you guys, but families are real. I mean, like, they will tell it like it is. And they tell it with candor, with honesty. They call you out on your BS all day long. And my brother right down here, Eric is grown, and he was bringing his girlfriend over to a family function for the first time. And that's a scary thing. Like, it's like there's a lot of us, and we also are very real and have lots of opinions. But he brings her up to me and he says, meet my sister Danessa. She's the successful one. And I'm like, what? I'm like, no, I'm not the successful one. That's Darby. Remember, the smart one, the MIT one. And he goes, no, she's the smart one. And I'm like, oh, I love these labels. This is great. But then I'm thinking about it, and I said, well, wait, I actually would like to be Danessa. I'm the fun one. And he said, no, that's Devin. He's the fun one. And I'm like, you're right. So I love my family. My family is my tribe. They do, they support me. They tell it like it is. They keep me grounded all the time. But yeah, they're a great crew. The last piece here is we talk about things that you learn and how do you manage challenges and failure, is through laughter. This picture was actually just taken this weekend, and I saw it on my phone, and I put it in here because sometimes you just have to laugh, right? It doesn't matter what you're going through. At some point, I'm thinking that Dave and Trevor, after that tree fell, are thinking, holy crap, we just got to laugh through this. We almost killed everybody here, but we're going to laugh about it. I love this. The photographer caught just the best moment where we're all just cracking up. So I'm going to tell you the last story here. I've been at Bio One for about 2.5 years, and we're part of 5-Star Franchising. 5-Star Franchising is a platform company as well. We've got 6 service brands, 2 support brands, ProNexus, 5-Star Marketing, and now you can tell Scott I plugged 5-Star. And we get together on a regular basis. We do these retreats. We go somewhere fun, and we get together and we collaborate together. And so when we talk about your tribe, it's great. It's great. We've got, don't tell Scott this, but we do have a brand presidents only call where just the brand presidents get together and we complain about 5-Star. But then we also collaborate on things that we're working on, and we say, how are things going? And so it's neat to be able to have a group like that. But then at the same time, we have fun. We eat lots of ice cream and eat lots of meat and barbecue and stuff like that. And we go golfing and we go fishing and we do all these men things because I'm the only girl. I'm the only girl out of this whole group. So I usually get outvoted when it comes to events that we're doing. So we decided to go mountain biking in Moab. And I recognize I'm Asian. I should be good on a bicycle. That is not me. But they said, Danessa, don't worry, they're e-bikes. And I'm like, oh, I love e-bikes. I've been on e-bikes before. You press the button, you go, right? How many of you have been on a mountain bike e-bike? Yeah, that's not how it works, right? You gotta pedal, and then it gives you a little bit of a boost. Like, I've got it on turbo, and it's still not pedaling for me. So anyway, we go and we get out and we get the bikes out, and I said, this is like a beginner route, right? And they're like, this is Moab. There are no beginner routes. And I'm like, this is gonna be great. This is awesome. So I'm just gonna show you, this is me mountain biking. The best part of it is that I am laughing hysterically, because at some point in time, you're like, I just got to laugh about this. This is probably fall 7 of like 30 during that whole time. And I realize you guys are looking at this and saying, it's pretty flat. It was an incline. And they're like, pedal faster, pedal faster. Anyway, when I look at this, I say, listen, sometimes you just gotta laugh. You gotta have a great time. I have never gone back on a mountain bike again. I'm not entirely sure, but I did have a great time doing this. We had a blast. I told them I'm going back to the car and it better be downhill. I just thank you for giving me the opportunity to kind of just share my journey and what I've learned along the way. I learned that being teachable is key. It's how we're going to learn. It's how we're going to get to those things that take us outside of our comfort zone and make us really uncomfortable. I've learned that I have to forget myself and just get to work. I just need to do things for other people. And then I need to ask for help and find my tribe. And then sometimes we just have to laugh. I appreciate you guys giving me this time to just kind of share what's the difference between average people and achieving people, which is what I see here in this room, is really that perception and response to failure. Thank you very much.